Ryzen 3. Ryzen 3 is a title that somewhat combines the elements of both the first and second game in the series to compromise the final entry, and in some ways I think that work it out, and in other I think the game honestly lets you down a little bit, but before we dive into all that, I review games after my 10 hours to set me apart from other reviews on the platform, and while that does include the achievements, it also includes a lot more than that. So if you are curious about everything that I cover, there is a video linked in the description below. If you are not subscribed, go to subscribe to my channel and watch this video. In the case of Ryzen 3, they are all actually working just this year. Actually, in 2023, Ryzen 1 was given achievements, but both Ryzen 1 and Ryzen 2 actually have problems with the achievement trackers and the fact that they will reset on you if you exit the game, which means more tedious stuff like killing a contained amount of monsters has to be done in one go, but likely all of that is not the case for Ryzen 3. Everything working as it should, which makes the only real delicious achievements in this case are getting the ones of maxing out your stats, but with a little bit of prep work, even these are not so bad. Last but not least, before we dive fully into this, so do keep in my mind that with this being in the third entry in the series, it's almost impossible to talk about this game without spoiling a little bit of the first and second titles, so do bear that in mind. However, at its core, I would say Ryzen 3 is very much so a Piranha Bytes game, whereas Ryzen 2 felt very different from everything they would done previously. Ryzen 3 is much more of a return to form in terms of structure of the title, and while the exact code of pain might change, Ryzen 3 is more in line with what you would expect from the studio. However, it combines a lot of the elements from both the first and second game, where the first game was very reminiscent of the Gothic series, or at least 1 and 2. Ryzen 2 took that in a very different direction with different progression system, as well as different mechanics with things like guns being added, and Ryzen 3 seeks to combine these things, and in some ways I think that works, in other ways not so much, and we will be breaking all of that down here, but we are going to kick this off with the story, of course. However, I am sad to report that Ryzen 3's story, in my opinion, is the weakest part of the game, because it kind of fails to provide a satisfying conclusion to the series as a whole, as well as this individual game. Some of this is down to the fact that we are no longer playing the game character from the first two titles, rather we are playing the son of Steelbeard, or at least one of his sons, as he is known to have many kids. Steelbeard was a recurring character, or at least he was mentioned in the first game. From the previous two entries, Patty, a recurring character that is in all three games, is his daughter. So in this game we play as her brothers, so already we are playing an entirely different character for seemingly no reason, to be honest, because the game kicks off with you and Patty doing what pirates do, and plundering the coast more specifically. Looking into an ancient ruins, however, upon fading in shadow creations and undead start spilling forth, and our character is actually killed right at the beginning. However, shortly after we are resurrected by a voodoo pirate known as Bones. Another recurring character, Bones, explains to us that our spirit is damaged by this, and if we act inhuman, we will slowly, over time, become inhuman, which means we need to be ruined with our soul, so to speak, before we turn into a demon, and the rest of the game from the revolves around gathering power. and an alliance with all sorts of factions across various islands to combat the undead and shadowy threat to ultimately win your spirit back now. As the full title of the game Horizon 3, Titan Lords, and haven't played the other two games, as well might clue you in one the fact that the person behind all of this stuff is in fact a Titan Lord, but while that's a decent enough setup, I think it fails on a few fronts. For starters, the game has a soul mechanic, as it calls it, where you can either be good to people and earn soul, or you can be helpful to people, which will diminish your soul rating and base it on your soul rating at the end of the game. You can earn of two different endings, however these endings mostly don't matter. It's an incredibly minor difference and the impact of the rest of the game.